everybody! I am NicoD. So today I am wearing my Armbian t-shirt again. So that means I am going to talk about Armbian, but I am holding something special. So this is the Radxa X. This is not an ARM single board computer, but an x86 single board computer. So this has got an Intel SoC. So we all know that Armbian runs on ARM single board computers. That's why it's called Armbian. But today I can tell you that it doesn't only run on ARM, it also can run on x86. So the most important part of Armbian is the build script, and the developers have done a lot of work to get Armbian running with UEFI. So for the Raspberry Pi 4, for example, that was very handy to have. So the Raspberry Pi 4 also can work with UEFI. So what is UEFI? So UEFI is a replacement for BIOS. So it does the same tasks as a BIOS, but a BIOS, we all know BIOSes, we've used them for 40 years, about 40 years I think. So now it was time to have a replacement. So UEFI does the same job. It starts when a computer starts, and it then controls the hardware to go over to the operating system. So thanks to the hard work of the Armbian developers, this is now also possible to use on Armbian. And we can also use it on x86 now, so that is great. Do know this is just a preview. I do not think Armbian will ever support x86, but it is handy to also be able to use Armbian on this. So you can run Armbian on every single board computer you've got, even on your x86 single board computers. Of course, this also runs on normal PCs, so I could run it on my new PC or on my older PC. So I will show you an Armbian preview image for x86 that I've gotten from one of the developers. So I will run it on the Radxa X. I will run it on this USB stick. I will install it on this. This is a USB 3 USB stick, so it is a lot faster than any SD cards. And I will plug it in and then we will boot it. So here we go! So here I've got my Armbian image. So it is UEFI x86 impish current generic with the XFCE desktop. So now I plug in my USB stick. And I am on Windows here, so I can't reach the Linux file systems. So the first thing I do is use SD formatter to erase the Linux partitions. And then to write the image to my USB stick, I use Win32 disk imager. So I select the image and I burn it onto my USB stick. Now I plug in my USB stick into my USB 3 port. And I put in the power, and I start it, and I press delete to enter the BIOS, and there I go to boot, and make sure that my USB partition is chosen, so UEFI USB, and with that as option 1 it will boot into Armbian. It did take a while before I saw something on the display when it was booting for the first time into Armbian, so be patiently. If you don't see anything, wait a minute and maybe it will come. The first boot will take a while. It will resize a partition, and when it is done you get greeted by this window. So type your password 2 times and then choose your command shell. So mine is bash, then your name NicoD, password again 2 times, and your real name, still NicoD. And now we are booting into our desktop. So the first thing to do, as always, connect my Wi-Fi and then change the wallpaper. Clearly the Armbian wallpapers aren't installed here. This is just a test image. Again, this isn't official Armbian. I just love these things. I love to run Armbian on anything. I also run Armbian on my Windows computer and virtual machine, and I use it to build Armbian images, so I build my Armbian images on Armbian. So here my NicoD wallpaper, that's better. Now open a terminal and do sudo apt update. Everything is up to date, so I can install my first program, and that will be console. So sudo apt install console. So I've seen that on Manjaro KDE on the Raspberry Pi 4, they use console, and I like that a lot more than any other terminal. So here it is. So this is very nice, you can split the windows. So here let me show NeoFetch. So I am running Armbian Impish on a Rockpi X with kernel 5.13.022 generic. And on the other side I opened Edgetop. And let me split that again. And here I can show you the output of GLX-Info-B. And as you see, it is using the Mesa Intel GPU drivers. So that is great, we have got GPU drivers. So now let's make this a little bit a nicer desktop experience. So I install the Mate system monitor. I like that system monitor a lot more than any others. And once that was installed, I installed the XFCE goodies. That for my toolbar applications. So once that is installed, I open the panel preferences and I add a second panel. And as always, I put it on the bottom. I lock it. I put it to 40 pixels. And I add two launchers, a separator, CPU frequency monitor, CPU graph. One thing that doesn't work is my mouse wheel. That is a bit annoying, but it is the only thing that I've found that isn't working with this Armbian. So I add a keyboard layout, screenshot. Then a system load monitor and the sensor plugin. And as last, the window buttons. And then I arrange them as I want them. So I expand the separator. Keyboard layouts on the back. Then the sensor plugins. Then the screenshots on the front. Then I set up my sensor plugin. So I choose core temp and there I can see the 4 cores that I've got. So I can show them each separately, the temperature of each core separately. And I set it to 1 second, so every second it shows another reading. And my CPU graph, I set the update interval to fastest. Then it is a nice wiggly thingy. I change my keyboard layout, because I'm using a UK keyboard, not a US keyboard. Then I set up my first launcher with console. Here it is. And my second launcher for the MATI system monitor. And here it is. Now that is more like it. Here is my MATI system monitor. And there I have to push to open another console. So that is very nice. Now let's run a 7-zip benchmark and let's see how well this performs. So as you can see, it runs at 1.68 GHz when it runs with all cores. But at single core it can run at 1.92 GHz, but just for a single core. And the score is about 5700, so that ain't too good. A Raspberry Pi 4 or RK3399 can get up to 8000, and the Odroid N2 Plus can get 11000. So the Odroid N2 Plus is 2 times as powerful with its CPU compared to the Raspberry Pi X. So as you see with the single core benchmark, it gets up to 1.92 GHz. But even then it doesn't perform that great, so 1650. But the Raspberry Pi X ain't no monster, and we all know that. It is a cute little thing that can run x86, and that is very good. And it has got 4 gigs of RAM, and it has got double the RAM of the Atomic Pi, so it is a lot more useful than the Atomic Pi. One more thing I needed to change was my upper panel, so remove the window buttons. And add a network monitor. Then I installed Blender, so sudo apt install Blender. So Blender does work, thanks to the GPU drivers. Any version above Blender 2.98 didn't work anymore on SBCs, because you needed OpenGL 3.1, and clearly this has it. So while knowing it isn't very powerful, I put myself through a NicoD Blender test on it, and it took very long. So the resulting time was 1 hour 39 minutes and 34 seconds. And the maximum temperature that it reached was 71 degrees Celsius. So I once made a video where I improved the thermals of the Raspberry Pi X by sanding the area where the sock makes contact. And because of that it doesn't overheat. Even when it is sitting on my table and the heat has nowhere to go, it still doesn't overheat, so I like that a lot about my Raspberry Pi X. There is no browser pre-installed on this image, no problem. I will install Firefox, so sudo apt install Firefox. So this works very good thanks to the GPU drivers. So it is GPU accelerated. The video playback is very good up to 1080p, but nothing more. Hello everybody, I am NicoD. So my YouTube channel now exists for 5 years. So 5 years ago on Christmas Eve I made my first YouTube video, and tomorrow it is Christmas Eve, so that is 5 years. So we are gonna take a look today at my first ever YouTube video, and we are gonna take a look at the YouTube analytics. I don't have anything to hide from you. Also very important to say, I have made a new YouTube channel for my music, so that's 100% NicoD music. So please subscribe, I will leave a link in the description here below. Thank you! I have made that new YouTube channel because... Now let's see if we can use Armbian to play games. So sudo apt install SuperTux card. And this plays very nice on this. I think it plays better than any other ARM SBC. Maybe the NVIDIA Jetson can do better, but I don't know any others that can do better than this. And as last I thought, why not build an Armbian image on Armbian? So for this the x86 Armbian versions are really perfect, but the Rock X isn't perfect at all for it. It is really underpowered, the CPU isn't powerful enough, and I'm connected to 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi, so that is also very slow. So to build an Armbian image I opened my browser, I went to Google, and there I searched for Armbian builds. There it is. And here it is explained how we can build our own images. So let's open a console. Go down a bit. So it is explained here to build native or via VirtualBox environments. So I am native right now. I also have got a VirtualBox on my new PC. you have to use sudo to install git. It is already installed. So git clone, Armbian builds. Then cd builds, then sudo /compile.sh. And then we choose what image we want to build. So I will build a full OS image for flashing. I will not change any kernel configurations. The board that I'm gonna build for is the Odroid N2+. So here we've got all the boards. There are also the ones that are not supported. I'm gonna build a current image with hirsute, an image with console interface. So this is a server image, and this took a very long time. I was waiting all night for it to finish, but it didn't finish. So when I woke up, I saw how long it took. So let's go to the finish. And here it is. So this did work perfectly. It was stable. My Rockpi X was on for 21 hours and 5 minutes. And the image took 410 minutes to build. That is almost 7 hours. So 7 hours for just a server image. I wonder how long it would have been if I would have chosen a desktop image. It would have been longer. But if I now would build another image, it wouldn't take that long. I used to use the Rockpi X to build Armbian images, and I don't remember it took that long. So the Rockpi X is really underpowered with its CPU to do such tasks, but it is great for light x86 tasks. And Armbian is also great. It is just like any other Linux distro. You can do everything with it what you can do with another Linux distro. So it is perfect for me. It is great to build Armbian images. I love to use it as a virtual machine on my Windows PC. I do a lot of tests with it. I've installed different desktops just to test them out, like KDE. KDE did work pretty well, but there were some bugs in it that makes it not usable. So maybe I will review KDE on Armbian in a later video. So for now, this will be it. I am very happy to be able to use Armbian x86 on a Rockpi X. It makes it a lot more fun to work with. I used to have Ubuntu Mate Studio, but I always had problems with it. It wasn't that stable. And this is just rock stable. I haven't had any issue with it. Everything works except for my mouse wheel. I don't know why that is. All I can say is that the Armbian developers have done a really great job with this. So thank you for all your great work. It is very much appreciated. So that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. See you all later. Bye.